Welcome to Tialba Truth, a series of cassettes that explores the world of Tialba. Published in 1993, Michel de Marquet's abduction to the Ninth Planet was exactly that, a first-hand account of his 9-day sojourn to the golden planet of Tialba. Today, the book is better known as Tialba Prophecy. In just a few years, it has become a publishing storm internationally, with sellout editions in Australia, the United States, as well as the Far East and Europe. The book details Michel's experiences on one of the 3 most advanced planets in our galaxy. The people of Tialba shared a broad range of knowledge about the mysteries of the universe and the purpose of life on Earth and other planets. Today, Michel will discuss some of the things he learned and the message Tialba has for the people of planet Earth. Well, Michel, thanks for coming today. Firstly, let's begin at the beginning. Can you discuss with us a brief rundown of your abduction?
Yes, Michael, with pleasure. And it's very simple. I was actually in my bed. I was sleeping. And suddenly I awake. And I was fresh and ready to go, like if it was the morning. And look, next to me it was my wife sleeping. And so I say, she always sleeps, so I can go to the kitchen and see the time. And I dressed up, I see the time, and at my surprise, it was 12:30 on midnight. And suddenly, I became like a zombie in my own house, if you like. I saw myself like if it was a second Michel watching the first one. I saw myself writing a note to my wife. I will be away for 10 days. And I don't know why I've done that. I put that under the telephone, and turning back, as I say already, I was like a zombie in my own house. I walk away, and I walk under the veranda. I live next to the rainforest. I went down the stairs, walk on the grass, and suddenly, on front of the house the grass became bluish and reddish under my feet. I say, what's going on here? I've been, surprised of that. And I say, am I dreaming of something? So I want to go home. Maybe I'm sick. And at the same moment, I've been lifted from the ground and seen my house in the misty light of the stars. I saw my house disappearing under me. That was pretty frightful. I was surprised of that.
Michel, at that time, how were you thinking? Like, am I insane? I mean, that's an
Yes,
extraordinary experience.
I was, wondering. I wanted to go home. It was too late. I've been lifted. And I appear in front of a huge human being, about 10 foot high, who told me it's okay, because I said, oh my God, it's okay, Michel, everything is all right. I say, that's it. It's a dream. It's a dream. It's not a nightmare, because it was beautiful. That person was nice, but it is a dream. What am I doing here? And she talked to me in French, which is my own language, mother language. And if you read the beginning of the book, I report that because it was so funny, so stupid. It sounded like a dream. I say, why? What are you doing next to my house? She say, we are not. We are in a parallel universe. And why are you talking French to me? We are in Australia. We speak English. She answered to me, yes, so do I, in English. I say, that's it. It's a stupid dream. I'm going to be on the carpet, and it's a nightmare, falling off my bed, dropping on the carpet like it's happened in a dream. And she laughed and she said, no, it's okay. We came to take you for a journey which nobody's done, at least in this century. You have to remember that, later, because that is very important.
If you sorry to interrupt, Michel, with this 10-foot being you mentioned, did she actually speak with her mouth or telepathically?
No. She spoke with her mouth at that time.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. She was speaking with her mouth. They can be telepath, but we'll see that later. Mm-hmm. So she said to me, we are going to take you. I say, what do you mean? What do you want to do? And we have a sort of argument there. Now I have to explain to you something. I have to explain something to you. When we were there, the parallel universe, many people don't understand what's going on here. I am next to the house, I am in a garden, and suddenly I am up there talking with a human being, and the person who translates my book told me, Michel, you should erase that of the first chapter because nobody's going to understand what suddenly you are somewhere else. And I say, I can't. It's forbidden to me to take that from any word, from any things I saw. I have to report everything as that did happen at that time. So I can't take that off. So I like to explain that in my lecture also, what was happening at that time, because it's a bit bizarre. I was in my garden, suddenly I was in another universe. I'm going to tell you about the parallel universe. That's what we call a parallel universe. What is a parallel universe? Okay, everybody heard about the Bermuda Triangle. The Bermuda Triangle is the place where ships disappear, people disappear, etc. Around the planet, we have a parallel universe like all around the planet, like if I have a blackboard, I can show you on a blackboard, but imagine a big halo around the planet. So that halo, same time, touch our universe, and that's what's happened in a Bermuda Triangle. The parallel universe touching our universe, and at the same time it touching. If a boat, a ship, people, anything passing there can disappear and be sucked in the parallel universe.
So in this case, these people from Tialba actually created their own parallel universe, their own Bermuda Triangle.
No, they created their own mini Bermuda Triangle on the top of my house. That's the description of it. They created a sort of Bermuda Triangle because it's a place where you can, a warp, if you like. In that warp, they pass me in a parallel universe, and they pass their spacecraft in a parallel universe.
Now, Michel, from the outside, if somebody was, say, 1 street away, would they have actually seen the spacecraft?
No, for that they've done it.
So it's
even a radar absolutely can't detect them because they are in a different dimension.
Right.
For that they've done that. So they passed me there. I saw different people there walking from the last century. I said, what are those people? And she explained to me the time was absolutely stopped on that parallel universe. If I was staying there for 100 years, I would, and if I could get out of it, I could be exactly the same age I was at that time.
Okay. Just to move on there, Michel. Just thinking about the spacecraft. I mean, there's been, as you know, over the last 50 years, there's been a lot of not research, but certainly descriptions made of various spacecraft, from cigar shape to flying saucer shape, hence the term.
Yeah.
Can you describe in brief terms what the spacecraft looked like from the inside as well as the outside?
So I was very, very surprised because when they told me, I could understand. First of all, as I said before, I thought it was a dream, and steady, I understood it was not a dream. So I was very, very surprised to see suddenly a spacecraft. They tell me, we came to pick you up. And I say, those things happen, you read it on a paper, I'm going to be abducted, I can't see my family again, etc. At that time, I should understand they were extraordinary people, because Tao, which is that extraterrestrial who took me with her, read in my mind and said, Michel, don't worry, in a few days you came back with your family. I should understand it was very, very extraordinary people to read like that in my mind. Now, you asked me about the spacecraft. She said, they are waiting for us. I say, who are they? And we walk about 100 meters on that universe, and misty light. And I saw levitating about 10 meters over the ground a huge sphere. The description is exactly a sphere, gray, bluish, and shimmering a bit, with no light down. I'm sorry for people who like science fiction. No cigar shape, just no porthole. No doors, no ladders, no little green man, nothing at all. It was just levitating there. So, Tao, you have to remember the name is Thao, we pronounce Tao. Mm-hmm. And, she took me by the shoulder because she's immense, she's very big. She's 10 feet high. It was easy for her to take me by the shoulder and push me under the spacecraft. And, suddenly she took some of biro from her belt, and she said, under any pretext you touch me. She became very, very serious about it. Then she sent a sort of beam to the spacecraft, and we start to levitate gently to the spacecraft.
Okay.
And when I thought I was going to bump my head into the hull of the spacecraft, something like a piston went inside, and we land on a platform inside the spacecraft.
So it was almost like you went through the metal. Is that right? Have I got that correct?
Not at that time.
No.
No, something open. We land on the platform, and there we began to glide like if we were floating inside a tunnel.
Okay.
And then we passed through the, you can say the metal, it must be metal, and we passed through like a ghost almost.
So it's almost like they changed the molecular structure of your body.
It seemed to me. I was very surprised. Of course, at that time, I remember that laughter, because at that time, I was absolutely, astonished, and I didn't think 2 minutes about all those things. Now, after that, we went in a room which is like a ball, if you like, a ball, but upside down, a vault on the top of your head, and it was very, very strong light, very, very strong light. And I couldn't bear the light with my eyes, and then she gave me a mask, and I put the mask on myself, and even through the mask, I could feel vibration. She called that vibration because I say, what is the color what is the painting of that place? And she said, no, colors are vibration, Michel, you have to understand that. Then, it was a special light they put, and she gave me a sort of, we can call a medication or a drug to clean myself. Also those lights were more to kill many dangerous bacteria as an earthly person I had on myself. So they give me a drug to completely clean it. Also the color was cleaning me completely, and I had to lie in a sort of box. And from that box, after a while, they took the mask off when the color disappeared, and I could I call that a sort of coffin, that box. And she was lying there next to me too. And I could see on a panel, a sort of panel of television, see the departure from the parallel universe, then after that from the Earth, and we start to travel in a space at a tremendous speed. I could never believe, I thought it was like you see on television,
Star Trek or
science fiction or something like that. The effect, the Earth disappear in a few seconds.
Michel, could you feel the propulsion as you sped through space, or was there no?
It's a very good question, Michael. No, I can say for maybe at the beginning for about 10 seconds or something like that, I felt a sort of vibration around me in a craft.
Right.
But not acceleration like you go in a plane, the plane starts. Absolutely nothing at all like that. Absolutely not.
Interesting. Michel, I'm also just curious, from the outside of the spacecraft, what sort of size are we talking about? Do you have a rough idea of the length of it?
Oh yes, they told me the diameter, because it's absolutely spheric. It's like a ball. So it's a 70 meters diameter.
Right.
And after that, I had to go with them, and I went in a command place, if you like, the main cabin, where was 12 people. Altogether, the crew was 12 people.
Right.
And all more or less the same size, except for Latoli, which is, I think, 2.8 meters. And biggest it was Biastra, very nice person. It was 3.10 meters.
My God, we could use these people on a basketball team in this country.
Many people tell me that. And then they were working on the machine, oval machine. You can call that a computer if you want to. Some of them were touching it, some of them were very busy and talking to the machine, and everything was like a television panel. But instead to have two-dimensional, it was three-dimensional pictures.
Interesting.
So you had a big panel where you could see things like if you were on a border of a building, on a window of a building, and you had little, if you want to call them, television set on the front of each computer they were working under. And we were flying, of course, that is what it was. It is also inside the spacecraft. You have a different room what they call the relaxation room. The name says it all. You can very relax. And Tao took me there because they didn't want to lose 1 minute with me. They had a lot of information for me. And we were talking in that room. She was talking. Of course, I asked millions of questions. First of all, you have to understand, say the first half hour, I was still wondering non-stop what's going on. Is it still a dream? And she repeated to me many, many times, we don't want you to think it's a dream because we are taking you physically like that. You are going to touch with your physical body. The thing you are going to see, if you don't touch it with your physical body, you don't see it, you always will think later it is a dream or an astral travel.
Yes.
For that they took me for 9 days, because finally it ended up with 9 days and 9 nights. And when I came back, I could remember everything, but I've been there, I touched things, I drink there, I bath there, but that is another story. We are going to talk about it later.
It's amazing, Michel. I must say, as you said, there's a great deal of information that was imparted to you, which you are obviously now sharing with the world. I'm very curious, though, why were you chosen? I mean, I'm a journalist, as you know, and it would have seemed logical to me to either have taken a journalist who could document the experiences, or in fact a scientist who could interpret the technical information that you also share with the world. So why you, with respect?
It's also an excellent question. Everybody asks me that question because people react exactly like you, Michael. It's normal. You are a nurse or people like me. And I was the first one to ask the question to Tao, absolutely. And she told me, I repeat again, she said, you are going to make a journey and we are going to show you, etc. And I say, yes, but why do you want me to do that? I am a landscape architect. I'm not a writer. Why don't you take a good writer, a journalist, a scientist? I don't know if I say scientist because I didn't think about what I was going to see. But I say, why don't you take a journalist or a good writer? So Tao answered me and she said, Michel, good writers are dead like Plato or Victor Hugo. And I laughed. And she said, I'm sorry, but journalists like sensation. We don't want any sensation. You want absolute things you see. You give a report of what you are going to witness. If we take a scientist, the scientist is going to put himself, his own ideas, or maybe you also think, Michel, we are going to let a scientist with information, but in your civilization, what you call a civilization on the planet Earth, if we bring a scientist with us, he can transform very good information into a weapon on your planet because you are a specialist to do that. And I was amazed, I say, how they know that sort of stuff. They are studying us. I didn't know anything at that time. So that's why they choose me, because they found same body neutral. But that is not really the answer to your question, because they told me later, they choose me for different reasons. First of all, planets are by category, and I happened to live very long time ago up to the 7th category planet.
Now,
and they were very, very, I'm going to tell you, but they are very, very nice why I'm now in a 1st category planet.
Right. Mm-hmm. And there's 9 categories, isn't there?
Yes.
Yeah.
So normally in reincarnation you go up, you don't go down. That intrigued them a lot. And also, according to them, I am a Suku. A Suku is a person on this planet who is on his 81st life. That's my 81st life. For them, it's a very important number because 9 by 9 is in 81. Mm-hmm. Now, that to answer to your question, that's their point of view. Of course, I would like to stay on my house. I'm a landscape architect. I don't want to hear about that. And she almost say, it's too late. You're on a spacecraft. Shut up and write the book.
Behave yourself. That's terrific.
That was what happened, exactly. I make a fun about it now.
Yes.
I was not laughing at all.
I can imagine. Michelle, pardon my skepticism. I've got my journalist hat on here, obviously. We've all heard stories of UFO abductions before. It's not new. It goes back. My earliest recollection of the most famous was probably the Betty and Barney Hill, a couple of American Negroes in the 60s. It was a very extraordinary case, that one. More recently, American author Whitney Strieber was taken in the 80s, and he's was a celebrated author who's written about that quite extensively. Also, some 5 million Americans claim to have been contacted by ETs in the past. Having said all that, Michelle, why, with respect, should people believe you over, say, some of these other cases, assuming they aren't correct as well, or aren't true?
Yes, first of all, I don't know about the others, Whitley Strieber, people you talk about. I don't know about that. I heard about that vaguely. That didn't happen to me, but I can tell you something. What they told me, they say, you will be the only person, at least in this century, doing this trip. So it's certainly different abduction or contact on that planet. Before to continue, I'm going to tell you something. The 5 million of Americans, because I've been in USA not long ago, 2 years ago. And I heard that, and I had contact by Tao, which sent me a telepathic message when I give my first lecture in America. Mm-hmm. And it is a collective hallucination.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff going there. So people sometimes are not happy when I say that, but I'm sorry. I'm here to say the truth because I talked to Tao about that. So the other abductee, I can't talk about it because that's their problem. And it's certainly been abducted somewhere else in a different planet or to do different things. But those people from Tiaoba are one of the 3 planets in our galaxy who are in charge to give a push when you need it. Mm-hmm. We needed a push a long time ago, maybe 2,000 years ago. They give a push each time. They don't do the homework for it, but they give a push. So those people in that case, when they took me, it was for a certain reason to make me witness and give me information. Very, very, very important information. For that, they abducted me. When Tao say you will be abducted, you are one in this century, at least it was a good reason, because a friend of mine, when he read my book, bought me the Book of Enoch. Mm-hmm. I didn't know why he gave me that. You should buy the Book of Enoch and read it. Mm-hmm. And it was very interesting. I read the Book of Enoch, and I say, oh my God, I understand why, because Enoch, on his own language, explained exactly where I went. The Crystal Palace, he called that angel. On that language, biblical language, he explained, and I bet, I'm almost sure, Enoch, long time ago, been abducted on the same planet. Very long time ago.
Interesting. Michelle, okay, it seems that I think the last figures I heard is that certainly the majority of people do believe in UFOs. When a person such as yourself claims to have been abducted, that's when people seem to raise eyebrows and start to walk away carefully and so forth. Having said that, however, the whole concept of extraterrestrials essentially can threaten our way of life, from, I guess, our belief in major religions to the comfort people take in the defense systems of their country. In your mind, what will happen to, I guess, the way of life of mankind once we finally accept that extraterrestrials exist and, more importantly, are amongst us?
It depends, because it depends. The truth, first of all, many people think extraterrestrial is going to invade us, invade the planet Earth. First of all, you don't invade a planet like that, because it's a natural law through the universe. And if you change a category of planet, you can have a big problem, like I explained for the Jewish in my book. But it is extraterrestrial, time to time, coming on Earth for different reasons, also to observe us. Some of them, like those ones, to help us, and many times to observe. And those people are not going. It's not a danger of any invasion. But of course, few people are very worried because they look and they watch too much science fiction movie. So it doesn't work like that. people say, oh yes, it is the gray example. The gray people. People are very interested in that because they talk about gray people. Gray people, example, are very, very worried on their planet because they are dying by a lack of immune system. They don't have an immune system anymore. So, they came on Earth on what you call flying saucer. They have the technology to come. And then they implant few people on Earth, and 5 million Americans think they've been implanted, example, abducted. It's not true, but about 100 or 150 people on Earth have been implanted for good with little apparatus, very small, and they are not under the command of the gray people. They're just a living experiment, if you like. It's like if you put a little transmitter on a guinea pig and you let the guinea pig going in a bush, or even they do that with a lion to find the lion or the bear. And they're doing that because they are very interested on us about the immune system, because us, with the radioactivity since 1948, we are losing our immune system, and they want to know how we cope with that, how we are going to cope with that, and they are studying few of us, those people, because of that, because of their complete lack of immune system. They are interested in that.
It's interesting you use the year 1948 when you think that was 3 years after the Americans dropped the atomic bomb on Japan, and it's the same year that Israel was formed as a nation. Is there any sort of, is that just a pure coincidence?
No, it's a pure coincidence.
Okay.
And also, it took time about the really radioactivity around the planet because the nuclear test everywhere, etc.
Yeah, in fact,
it's worse and worse.
Yes, you were talking before about television and movies and so forth, and you're quite right. Certainly since the 50s, it seems that humanity has had a fascination with flying saucers, and the media certainly has hyped that up. Even today, we've got top-rating shows like The X-Files, and we've got, it seems every year there's a new rash of sci-fi movies out, there's Star Trek and so forth. At the end of the day, Michel, do you think this is just all Hollywood hype, or is it possible that governments, some of the insiders around the world, are actually implanting or suggesting all this information regarding extraterrestrials so that the general population get used to the idea of a close encounter in the years to come?
Not the information I have. Maybe I don't have all the information, but the information I have is not that. The information they give me, they show me a lot of things, like I'm going to talk certainly later for your show, but a lot of things much more interesting than that. But if it is, as I say, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time for many reasons, because as I say, the extraterrestrials are not going to interfere, badly like that with us. They're not going to interfere because, I'm sorry if I hurt your feeling and the feeling of people who hear. Have you been to the zoo?
Yes, I have.
Yes, you have. And me too. Did you see the monkey?
Yes, I did.
Yes, I did too. And I'm sorry, but they look at us like we look at the monkey in a zoo. You wouldn't live there. Okay, so I know. For them, we are very, very low. Not only our technology, for them it's a joke. Because if you compare, example, the technology of the Tiahuben, we have a wheelbarrow and they have the Concorde. You understand?
I see, absolutely.
Okay. You don't push a space shuttle with the rockets. You can't go in a space like that. It's impossible. You need the anti-gravitation and you need transubstantiation. You need a lot of technology. First of all. Secondly, unfortunately, also, since a great civilization we had a long time ago, we lost our civilization. We are very low. It is not for them now. We don't have a civilization. Okay, we are very, very low spiritually, and for that, they wanted me to send that message. Just an ordinary person like me, but certainly they knew also, because they studied me before, they knew also I'm very persistent, very, very persistent. You can't stop me. I will always say what I have to say.
Well, they chose the right person by the sound of it, Michel.
Thank you.
For sure. You mentioned earlier that I think you said about every 100 years they take a person and share knowledge. You also mentioned that I think every couple of thousand years, they give the people of Earth a little push in the right direction, and obviously it's time again. On that point, why now? Okay, we've talked about why yourself, but why now? Are we that critical in terms of our evolution?
Yes, as the great Taora say in chapter 6, I put that, and the great Taora say, we are here on planet Earth at a very bad turn for many, many, many different things. Example, we are on a bad turn about the pollution of the planet. We are destroying the planet. It's a sort of collective suicide. Suicide is not a good thing at all. Forget about suicide in a universal law. So we are on the wrong direction. We kill the planet. The planet is our spacecraft, and that's what I call a collective suicide. First. Secondly, spiritually, we are also down. We are only materialistic. We're not spiritual. And that is the great point. We have to change that. We have to understand inside us we have an astral body, and that is what is the most important. And that is my message.